Attention Cherryland Electric Cooperative members, welcome to the annual meeting. We will be starting the business meeting under the tent in 5 minutes at 5:30. So you're welcome to join us out here. If you prefer, you can also watch it live stream from inside Incredible Mo's at 5:30.
10 today, so as Senior Vice President, I will be filling in. Over 150 members have submitted ballots, therefore a quorum is present, so we will dispatch business in accordance to the bylaws. In addition to our members here in person, I'd like to recognize those members that are joining us live on Facebook and on YouTube. Now, if you would rise, if you are able, as a color guard from Traverse City Young Marines present our nation's colors, followed by the singing of the national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we held at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you to the Traverse City Young Marines and Private First Class Civic for performing our national anthem and for being here with us today. For more information about the Young Marines, you can visit their information station along with other nonprofits inside of Incredible Mo's following the business meeting. I'd like to take this moment to acknowledge any veterans and Gold Star families who may be with us today, and those watching via Facebook and YouTube. So if you would rise and be acknowledged. Any veterans? Thank you. Thank you all very much. And now please welcome Director John Olson to the podium for the invocation.
Heavenly Father, we ask you today for your guidance, your wisdom and support as we begin this meeting. Help us to engage in a meaningful discussion, allowing us to nurture the bonds of the community, fill us with your grace, and Lord God, guide us with your infinite wisdom as we deliberate upon these important matters today, and continue to remind us that all that we do here today, all that we accomplish, is the pursuit of truth for the greater glory of you and for the service of humanity. We ask in these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
If you'll stay up here just a moment. Can you stay here? Okay. At this time, we'd like to acknowledge John Olson as this is his last and final meeting for the Board of Directors. John joined the board in November of 2000, serving our cooperative for 22 years. We are grateful for his hard work and dedication to Cherryland, and we want to wish him well in his retirement from the board. So thank you, John.
I'll tell you, the 22 years went so fast. This is a wonderful co-op. You just don't know how many people here that put their hearts and soul into their work, their education, and dedication for you members. And I want to thank you members for being such good members and supporting Cherryland. You're the ones here, and you're a member here. You're an owner, and we need you. We need your thoughts. But I enjoyed the 22 years so much that it's kind of a hard time for me. But you know, I'm kind of aging out a little bit. Anyway, I've had a lot of fun, and I've enjoyed working with all the board members. Tony, he's done a wonderful job and a good leader, and we appreciate it.
Thank you, John. Do you want to take it back? Go right ahead. Okay. I encourage everyone to participate in today's meeting. We will be answering your questions at the end. For those watching online, please submit your questions in the Facebook or YouTube comment sections. If you are inside, there are Cherryland members by the pool tables ready to reply to your questions and relay them to us out here. At this time, we would like to welcome our board members. We have down at the very end, obviously, John Olson. Next is Tom Van Pelt, Terry Lautner, Val Handy, Gabe Snyder. We have next to him is our corporate attorney, Greg Jenkins. Next to him is our CEO, Tony Anderson. And also we have two board candidates with us in the audience. We have Dean Adams and Vicki Olson. We also have some other special guests joining us today. From the National Rural Electric Cooperative Association, we'd like to welcome Senior Director of Media and Public Relations, Stephen Bell, and Communications Manager, Kate Tillotson. Thank you. Thank you for being here. With the Michigan Electric Cooperative Association Director of Communications and Marketing, we have Casey Clark. We also have Casey Wickenhauser. And joining us from Wolverine Power, we have CEO Eric Baker, CFO Zach Anderson, and VP of Business Solutions and Member Services, Don Kuhn. We would like to thank Grand Traverse County Sheriff's Department, who's out there joining us today, and Habitat for Humanity. We'd also like to acknowledge our Cherryland Cares Board. We have Jeremy Hawk, Mike Kenny, Connie Denevith, Alyssa Korn, and Karen Thor. Thank you all. Okay. We'd now like to recognize our scholarship winners, recipients of the three $4,000 scholarships. They are Olivia Bailey of Benzie Central. So Olivia, are you with us today? Okay. True Beeman of Kingsley. True Beeman, thank you. Braden Opie of Sutton's Bay. Recipients of the two $1,000 adult scholarships are Emily Barron of Interlaken and Courtney Yapple of Sutton's Bay. Good. Through your hard work and determination, you have proven to be students that our cooperative wants to recognize and encourage you to continue your educational efforts. Congratulations to all of you. Finally, we would like to thank our hosts, Incredible Mo's, and their fantastic team. We are excited to be back here. Now I'd like to ask our Secretary, Gabe Snyder, to read the notice of the meeting and the proof of the mailing.
Thank you, Melinda. I, Gabriel Schneider, being first duly sworn on oath, depose and say that I am duly elected, qualified, and am Secretary of Cherryland Electric Cooperative, hereinafter called Cooperative, that on the first day of May 2022, mailed to each member of the Cooperative a notice of the annual meeting of members of the Cooperative in the May edition of Michigan Country Lines. Such meeting to be held on June 9th, 2022, by depositing such notice in the United States Mail with third-class postage, and attached hereto is a true and correct copy of said notice of meeting mailed as aforesaid.
So do we have a motion to accept those minutes?
I accept.
We have a motion. Is there support? I see support. Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Nays? 0? Okay, ayes have it. We'll dispense with the reading of the minutes. Okay. At this time, we would like to introduce our corporate attorney, Greg Jenkins.
Good afternoon. At this time, we're going to move forward with the voting of the open board seats. If a member was in line at 5:30 and is still in line and would like to cast a vote, they may do so now. Otherwise, the ballot box is closed. Does anyone have any questions regarding or concerning the ballot or the balloting process? Seeing none, I would ask our election committee to proceed with the counting of the ballots pursuant to our bylaws. I'd also like to extend some gratitude to those members for their service here this afternoon, and they are Marvin and Nancy Scott, Ron Dilley, Linda Burton, and Julie Newcomb. Again, thank you all for your service.
Okay, up next we have our treasurer's report from Tom Van Pelt.
The unconsolidated balance sheet of Cherryland Electric Cooperative Incorporated as of December 31st, 2021, and the related unconsolidated statements of income, equities, and cash flows for the year then ended have been prepared by management in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles and include all auditor adjustments by the CPA firm of the Raymond Group. A copy of the audited consolidated balance sheet and a statement of operations for the year ended December 31st, 2021 is included in the May issue of Michigan Country Lines magazine. Audited financial statements are available at the Cooperative's office upon request.
Thank you, Tom. Could I ask for motion to approve the treasurer's report? Okay, we have a motion. Is there support? I see support. Thank you. Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Okay, at this time I'd like to introduce Cherryland's General Manager, Tony Anderson.
Thank you, Rick. Thank you. Are we on? Well, thank you very much for coming. I'm going to go off script right away and ask my most special guest to stand up. You got to stand up. Last night was our 38th wedding anniversary. The last girl I ever took to the prom. And probably the one I've said it's my fault more than anybody. And that's kind of the theme of what I want to talk about tonight. It's so much in this world we're pointing fingers and it's not my fault, it's somebody else's fault. And I just took some time and looked in the mirror, and there's a lot of stuff that's my fault. And she could tell you a whole string of stuff that's my fault. But what I'm going to talk about tonight is 3 questions that are you can put at my feet and you can blame me for, and that are my fault as we move forward. And those 3 questions are the 3 questions I get most asked often. It's fiber, blackouts, and management of the cooperative. So we're going to start off at fiber. I get asked if I'm in the grocery store or if wherever I'm at, somebody's asked me, why are you not in the fiber business? There's 200 co-ops across the country in the fiber business. Cherryland is not in the fiber business. As some of you probably know, we did a business plan several years ago, and we have 38,000 meters. And what the business plan showed us is that there's 3,500 of those meters who don't have internet. They are unserved. And we didn't feel like we could do a business plan to serve just 3,500 people. And then we looked around. The 200 co-ops that are in the fiber business, they don't have competition. And that's what co-ops were designed to do. If nobody's there to serve it, we need to build it. And when we looked around, we've got Charter, a big company in town. We have 186 Connect, a small mom and pop. We have Agri Valley that's just come into Leelanau County. We have Cherry Capital Connect. We just, Point Broadband, a national company, is coming into Leelanau County. So we had so many companies that we would have to go head to head with. We decided our best role was to be a facilitator. How can we help these companies get fiber service to you all? And what has happened over the last couple of years is come to fruition this year. Right now, of those 3,500 that we have unserved or so, Charter is building to part of them in eastern Leelanau County. Point Broadband is going to start in the next month in Leelanau County. And by the end of 2023, we're going to have about 3,000 of that 3,500 number served with a fiber internet. That's going to leave us a small portion of southern Grand Traverse County where I live, and Charter has plans to do that by the end of 2025. So if you don't have good internet, it's my fault. If by the end of 2025 you don't have internet, it's my fault. And if at some point in the future, electric co-ops who do get into the business are able to lower their rates because they have another form of business, that's going to be my fault too. That's probably what keeps me up the most. So that's why we're not in the fiber business. And my quickest answer lately, because I've done it so much over the last few years, when I'm in the grocery store or out in public and somebody says, why aren't you in the fiber business? I just look at them and say, do you know why you can't buy pizza and a hamburger at Moomer's? Because they're really good at ice cream. And so, but totally my fault. The next thing and the longer thing is reliability. And we were on the news the other day about the possibility of blackouts this summer. Not the probability, there's a possibility. And so what we have going on is we're in a 15-state grid, and that grid is regulated by a not-for-profit corporation called the Mid-Continent Independent System Operator. We call it MISO. They come out with a report that says we don't have enough capacity in our portion of the grid if it gets 90 degrees and we lose a power plant here or there. There's a regulatory body above them called the National Electric Reliability Council, and they came out with a report that says the same thing. In our grid, MISO has shut off 18,000 megawatts of coal and nuclear since 2015. You don't have to know what a megawatt is. If you're in my corner of the co-op, when I look up the definition of a megawatt, it just says a lot. Frank over in engineering can give you a better answer than that. But MISO is also telling us that demand is going to increase by 50% between now and 2035. more people using electricity. We've seen electricity sales go up since COVID, more people working from home, more people frankly found rural America since COVID, and our sales are, 2020 was our biggest year yet, and we beat that in 21, and we're on pace to beat that in 22. So we're selling energy, and that's a good thing, but on a 90-degree day, it may be a problematic thing. And then in the next 3 years, 10% of Michigan's in-state generation is scheduled to be retired. So that's a problem. The Palisades nuclear plant was just shut down, I think at the end of May it was. There's some talks about it being started up again, but I'm told they don't have fuel, and that's a 2 to 3 year process, so probably not going to happen. Consumers Energy has recently announced they're going to shut down the Campbell plant, which Wolverine Power Supply, our power supply provider, owns part of. They're going to shut that plant down in 2025, and that's 14 years early. And that's not good for us. So what can we do on our regional grid? And there are a few things we can do. We can stop shutting stuff off before we build enough replacement power. Or we can build new generation. And what new generation can we build? We can build natural gas, we can build wind, we can build solar. We're probably not going to build coal and nuclear anymore. So we're limited on our source of fuels we can build. The third thing we can do is build more transmission line and get it in from other areas outside of the state of Michigan. That puts us at the mercy of that transmission line, and right now, as we all know, we love the water, but we're surrounded by water except for the southern part of Michigan. So we're on a peninsula. We're bringing transmission up through the bottom, through Indiana. There's nothing through the top. What we would like to see is more transmission options, and a couple of those options are laying the cable across the Great Lakes into Wisconsin. That's probably a 10-year process to get that done. So we're sitting here in a 10-year window where we need more capacity. So if we're not going to build it fast enough, what can we do locally? Well, what we're doing locally is Rachel and her communications team has developed a communications program where you'll get a text message and we'll ask you to turn down your thermostat, maybe shut off your air conditioner, or maybe we're going to have to tell you that you've got a 2-hour outage coming, and every 2 hours we'll roll to the next feeder. Frank and his engineering team have identified the feeders we can shut off, and with the appropriate size and how we would do that, we can do that all from the office and pull that switch here. So we have those plans in place. My role is to keep you informed in the monthly magazine and the news stories or whatever I can do. And my bigger role might be to get more of my peers to sound I won't say an alarm, but sound the problem that we have coming. So what can you do? On Monday, we're rolling out a campaign called Voices for Cooperative Power. That's going to give you the opportunity. You're going to get an email or you're going to see a Facebook post, and you're going to have the opportunity to click a button and send a note to the Michigan Public Service Commission and ask them to not shut off the Campbell Power Plant. So you can play a role in keeping a coal plant operating and keeping the lights on should we run into trouble this summer. It's Voices for Cooperative Power. You can also go to our website, and there will be a link right at the head for that too. That program, again, will start on Monday, and we will run that pretty hard for the 10 weeks, or not 10 days or 2 weeks after that. So a lot of stuff going on there as far as reliability goes. If you get a text message or you get a notice that you're going to be out of power, that's my fault. If we shut you off, that's my fault. I counted on MISO, I think I've written about it a few times. Like, there's simple math here. We got sales going up, we know the generation. Somebody's got to be doing the math and not shutting stuff off, and that didn't happen. And one of the things I didn't do, I didn't lobby MISO, I didn't go to NERC, I didn't talk to my legislators enough about the problem. So you're welcome to put that at my feet, but know that some of the stuff we've actually talked about, we've talked about can we buy a diesel generator so I don't have to shut you off, but I turn a diesel generator on to support the size of whatever feeder we're shutting off. And as an electric guy and somebody who has been in this business for 40 years, it pains me a little bit to say, well, let's just get a generator and flip that switch. The Cherryland grid is solid. We put a lot of money in the distribution grid. The Wolverine transmission grid is solid. They put tens of millions into that grid, hundreds of millions probably over the last 20 years. And the 15-state grid is generally reliable. The problem is we need more generation. We're shutting off generation before we're building its replacement. And it's not an issue of you like this fuel, you don't like that fuel. It doesn't matter. Oh, there's the alarm. Turn your furnace down. Yeah, that is my fault. But we have good infrastructure. We just need more generation. So, my fault. Well, I very much appreciate that. I got one person in my corner. That's all I need. That's all I need. So, it is my fault. So we got all of that going on, and stay tuned for over the summer. The last question I get, or the third most asked question I get, since COVID, or since we've been going out in public, when I go out in public in town, people ask me, how long have you been at Cherryland? Aren't you about ready to retire? I haven't had a lady that said, you look so much better since you quit running marathons. I'm like, thanks, I think. Well, the truth is, this annual meeting next year will be my last annual meeting. The employees were betting to see if I would choke up or not, and nobody would take the bet that I wouldn't. But I turned 60 in April. A year from now, I'll be 61. We have great internal options. We've done succession planning for years. We have fantastic internal options that can take my place and move this place forward. And I'm looking forward to see what the board does there. Where am I going? First of all, I'm going to Elk Rapids. We bought a house in Elk Rapids. I've lived 7 miles south of the office for the last 20 annual meetings. But I wanted a little community I can walk around in. I can walk to the grocery store. I can walk to the pharmacy, because I'm going to need some more drugs as I get older. I'm a mile from Pearls. I'm a mile from Shorts. I'm a mile and a half from Lake Michigan, and my boat's on the water outside the window of the house. So I got the next chapter set up, and then I got a little side gig too. There's an organization called the National Rural Electric Cooperative Association. They represent the 900 co-ops in 48 states across the country. I've been a member of that board since 2008. A few years ago, I was elected secretary-treasurer of that board. A couple of years ago, a year and a half-ish, I was elected vice president of that board. In March of 23, I will be the president of that association. 900 co-ops. Thank you. Thank you. It's an honor and a privilege. Michigan thought enough of me to keep sending me back there. But I will be, yeah, well, it's also Michigan's fault. But I get the honor of leading that organization for 2 years, overseeing the policy. They have 800 employees. There's one director from each state with a co-op. So there's 48 states that have co-ops. There's 48 directors. So I have 5 of the best management team at Cherryland. I have 5 direct reports. When I become president of NRECA, I get 48 direct reports calling me up. So it's a little different scale and scope, but I get the ability to represent all the co-ops in the country at different meetings and events and legislative issues and important issues to all the co-ops. And I'm beyond pleased with that opportunity. I started in this business in 1983. It's the only thing ever done. Next year, I get to drop the mic at the best co-op of those 900, right here. And a couple years after that, I'll give a speech in front of a few thousand people at a national meeting, and I get to drop the mic at the national organization. So I'm a lucky guy. And it's not all my fault. I've had good employees and so much support from Michigan and from you all, and we'll save the rest of that for next year. You want to come to this meeting next year, because don't take the bet that I won't choke up a little bit. But that's what I've got going on. You're very welcome. But thank you. Well, if something goes wrong, it's absolutely my fault, and that's what I'm here to tell you. I've spent 20 years getting things ready and getting us to where we are, but we have a lot of work to do, and I'm looking forward to the next year, because there's no possibility of coasting with everything we have going on. So thank you very much for coming tonight. Greg Jenkins' chair is empty, and what that means is they're not done counting the ballots. So typically at this time, we have Greg give the election report, and you find out who the new board members are, but we set this up before because, oh, he's coming right now. We're going to do Q&A, but do we have a drum roll? Did not one of the young Marines have a drum? So we'll let Greg do the election report, and then we'll get questions and answers, and I'll ask you questions about anything you want to know. We have the reliability power supply experts from Wolverine Power here. You can ask them questions, and we'll just have a great conversation when he's done.
Thank you, Tony. A few years ago, we lost a board member suddenly, unexpectedly, and sadly. And we miss him. And sometimes we miss him at these moments because Rick Denowith would always put a box of tissues near Tony. And it was an inside joke. And we miss. And the board has supported Tony in his quest for the NRECA board, and we are super proud. It's a big honor, and we're super proud of him. Just briefly, too, you'll see all the red shirts out here, and I just wanted to say thank you to all those red shirts. They're your employees, and they're proud to be serving you, and we thank them. So. Greg, do you have the election results? Okay, Greg Jenkins.
So the ballots have been counted, and I have the election results for the open board seats and also vote on the bylaw amendments. So let's start with the Benzie, Manistee, Wexford County board seat. Ms. Valerie Handy received 2,749 votes. There are also 16 votes for write-in candidates. Ms. Handy, having received the most votes, is elected to the board. With respect to the at-large board seats, we have as follows. Vicki Olson, 1,667 votes. Dean Adams, 1,676 votes. And Melinda Lautner, 2,100 votes. We also had several write-in candidates totaling 16. So Mr. Adams and Mrs. Lautner, having received the most votes, are elected to the board. Congratulations. And last but not least, the bylaw amendment. We received 2,434 votes in favor and 539 votes in opposition. Accordingly, the yeses have it and the amendment has passed. Thank you.
Okay, at this moment, we'll ask the secretary to attach the certificate of inspection of the election to the minutes of the meeting. Okay. Now we have a little time for question and answer. Are there any questions? There are some mics roaming the audience out here, so just raise your hand.
I have a quick question that came in online, so if we can start with that one. Kristen Moore wants to know, for rolling blackouts, are there accommodations made for those who require power for medical devices?
Sadly, there is not, because we have so many of those and they're scattered all over. We can't, you have to be prepared for 2 hours if you have a medical device, and it pains me to say that, but there isn't. For the hospital, for the surgery center, yes, there is. For an individual home that's one of 200 or 300, sadly there is not. So that's why we're going to work as hard as we can to avoid that.
And I'll also just add in, we are also working to find local businesses that will be willing to be cooling centers, and we can keep their power on. Take, for example, some place like the YMCA. And we would publicize that on our social media in the event we would have to do blackouts. So we could give you directions where you can go and be sure you could have access to power if you need it.
Yeah. Right down here, or I'm sorry, right over there, sorry.
I have 2 questions. The first one is, if there are blackouts, what times would they be? Would it just be spontaneous? Would they be in the middle of the day, at night? When? Do you know?
My guess is they'll be from 3, 4 p.m. until 8 or 9 p.m. I'm looking over at my Wolverine backup, and they're nodding their head. Typically, we peak in the summertime between 5 and 8 p.m., and that's when we need to cut back our generation. So we may start a little early at 3, 4 o'clock and roll into the 9 o'clock hour. So that's going to be a typical day.
The second question is, the amendment to the bylaws talked about possibly changing the date of the meetings.
Right.
Was there a specific month, time that they wanted to change it to?
No, we've just been locked in on June because it's been hard written in our bylaws. So every 5 years or so, we go through the bylaws and say, what improvements can we make? And with COVID and stuff not working, we didn't want to ever run into the possibility that we couldn't have a meeting in June, because our bylaws demand we have a meeting in June. So why not take that out there? We'll probably stay with June. At least the year I have left, we're going to be with June. It's going to be the fault of the other manager, whoever that is. But for now, for the rest of my tenure, let's count on June. Yes, sir.
Hi, Tony Ralph Bednar's East Bay Charter Township,
Yes.
off the fiber grid. My question is, with the rollout of electric vehicles, what are the Michigan electric co-op's role in that rollout in Michigan? And how does this generation challenge affect that over the next 10 years?
Yeah. Obviously, electric vehicles, charging them at home is going to use more energy than we've ever used before. That's the yin and the yang of it's going to cause more issues with the capacity. But what I would tell you is, if I can get a car into your home and I can get a car into more homes, I can keep your rates down. Because I'm going to get a 30% bump in sales if I get a car in your house, and I need volume to sell. Because one of the things we're probably going to have to do is change our rates a little bit, and we're going to encourage that car to charge after 9 o'clock. So I think there's things we can do for that, and I think we have to get ready for that. I've driven an electric car or two, and they're coming, so we have to figure it out. But depending on how fast they come, yeah, there's issues because we need more generation on the grid.
A quick follow-up. Is Michigan supporting the electric co-ops in this rollout of infrastructure for electric vehicles in any way?
Yeah, the governor's got money set aside for a charging station network. That's the main thing I know she's doing. She's looking at rebates for cars and rebates for home charging stations as well. We've had rebates for cars and charging stations. If the Michigan state government approves those, we'll probably drop ours and spend that money somewhere else. But yeah, no, I'm a big fan of electric cars. I very much think they're coming, but we're going to have to manage it. And
what is the reality about the installation in the home as far as availability of people that are going to do that for us? You know, that we can pay to come in and do that.
To come and
home.
install a home charger? Any electrician can do that for you. Just use a qualified local electrician. It's like putting in, the closest thing to it is putting in a 240 volt dryer plug. You're going to need one in your garage with a cord on it, and it's simple electricity, but it's about a $500 to $1,000 installation.
My question was not so much cost as it was availability of these electricians. I've noticed in a lot of fields, the ability of the people to do the work has been difficult.
Yes. Yeah, what area do you live in?
Near Silver Lake.
Okay, so Traverse City's got a lot of electricians. How available they are at the time, we're all struggling for workers in the trades, and yeah, but you'll need a qualified electrician to put it in, for sure. Absolutely. We've all learned that during COVID. Don't count on it tomorrow. Plan 2 or 3 months ahead, for sure. Anything else? We've got one over here. I'm going to let Eric Baker do that one on how big we're in a 15-state region, but we're in the northern part of that region. He probably knows the boundaries better than I do.
Yeah, when you think about the electric grid, I think if you can recall what happened in August, I think it was August 12th of 2003, we had a wide-scale blackout that affected southern Michigan all the way to the East Coast. And unfortunately, that's the reality of the electric grid. Essentially, everything east of the Mississippi and all the way into all the way into Canada are all electrically interconnected. So contagion in one place creates contagion in another, and electrically, that's what we're trying to avoid. So if we have a blackout, if one area needs to have power brought down, we'll try to do it regionally, but we really have no control over that. What we're trying to avoid is a wide-scale blackout, and sort of the last of the steps that the grid operators will take is to do rolling blackouts that are sort of local blackouts. That's the last step before we lose the whole grid. That's what we're desperately trying to avoid.
Anybody else? Back here.
Do we actually have a crisis?
When we do not have a crisis. We have a possibility, and that's different than a probability. If power plants are big engines, natural gas is just a big jet engine. If that engine needs to be repaired and we don't get the parts because of some supply chain issue and it's 90 degrees, I'm out that engine. If that happens, maybe a coal plant is down for repairs or maybe something else. It's probably a combination of 2 or 3 things. But our goal, I have a friend at Consumers Energy, good company, good people, and he said, Tony, you shouldn't tell people about this because we don't think it's going to happen. And my response to him was, I have to tell you because I don't want you saying, why the heck didn't you tell me if it does happen? You know, so I'm telling you it's possible, not probable, and I'm telling you it's kind of like that duck story. The duck looks all calm and in control on top of the water, and he's paddling like hell underneath. Your electric co-op is paddling like heck underneath. Your Wolverine Power Supply Cooperative is paddling like heck underneath because we don't want it to happen. The last thing I want is somebody calling me up and say, Tony, this is your fault. You told me this was your fault. So that's our goal. My goal is to tell you about it, and then it never happened. But the other goal is you can't be surprised. My job is to make sure you're never surprised. Yes, sir.
Moving beyond the grid, what is the exposure or what work is being done to protect the grid from being impacted or jeopardized by someone with malcontent?
Cybersecurity, that's a big issue. Our national association, NRECA, they have a whole team that deals in cybersecurity. They've developed software that can help detect people messing with your stuff. Wolverine works on cybersecurity every day. Cherryland works on cybersecurity every day. It doesn't mean it's not going to happen, but we're trying to stay on top of it. And we have a whole network of 900 co-ops and a great national association, and the G&Ts talk to each other. We're trying to stay on top of that. But yeah, we don't have enough to worry about, but now we got that. And it has happened. There's been a handful of co-ops over the last couple of years that have had ransomware incidences, and it's cost them a couple $1 million. So it's a real threat, and it's a threat that has happened to co-ops that we're trying to learn from and stay away from. When in doubt, delete is our motto. Anybody else? I can do this all night long. This is my favorite part of the year. Going once. Going twice. Twice is how much ice cream I'm going to have today. Oh, we got one last one. See, the same as the front. It's my fault coming and going. Thank you very much.
Hey, ma'am? Okay. Looking around from up here, I realized I missed somebody from the Michigan Electric Cooperative Association. I missed Doug Snidgen. So thank you, Doug, for being here today. So at this time, we'll ask if there's any other unfinished business.
I have one thing.
Nope, you're not allowed. So your time is done.
I forgot to thank Fox Motors. We have a Mach-E electric car out here, and we have the first Lightning electric pickup in Grand Traverse County out here because of the great staff at Fox Motors. They literally got that truck 2 days ago, and the Mach-E, I think, came yesterday. So hats off to Fox Motors for that.
Very good. Okay. Any other new business? I'm seeing none. If you have no further questions, at this time, feel free to come and find us out in the crowd. And if there is no other business, I declare this meeting adjourned. So thank you all very much.